Hi, and welcome to another, well, it's still an unnamed show, but it's a preview of what's coming up next week on Red Tie Live. My name is Kristen. We're here at Torque Brewing, and I'm joined by Paige Drobot. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today, Paige.
Oh, thanks for having me.
It doesn't matter what you think or what you do. That it's choosing what is happening to you.
You're going to be performing for us next weekend, and I'm really stoked for this. I think it's very cool because we haven't had a ton of women performers on Red Tie Live, so that's going to be very cool. And I'm also really looking forward to sort of changing pace a little bit because we do really, really heavy stuff, and you're a little bit different than that.
I noticed. And I like that stuff too, right? So I was honored that you guys would like me.
So instead of asking the question that everybody asks in an interview, like, what bands influence you, or what's your sound like? On your Facebook page, it says you guys play freak rock, which I love that. So what is freak rock? What does that mean to you?
Okay, so for years, when people would ask me what kind of music I played, I didn't know, right? Like, I just couldn't say anything, right? And then recently I realized, I heard this record called Nuggets 2. It's a compilation record of all this, like, it's called the freak scene, freak beat music from like the late 60s. Mm-hmm. And then like when they start listing those bands, Captain Beefheart, Frank Zappa, like even T-Rex, you know what I mean? I was like, okay, that's me. I guess I play freak rock. Like, I always knew I was a freak, but I realized that, okay, I guess there almost is a genre I fit into.
That's very cool, and I think there's really something to be said about just like finding the thing that you're weird about and embracing that weirdness and making it your own, and I feel like you really do that.
Oh yeah, like, and so many people will say like, okay, you need to list 3 bands that you sound like for whatever, right? I have a hard time, right? Like, yeah. I have a hard time with that, but isn't that good? Like, then you don't sound like anybody else.
I think so. Nice. So tell us a little bit about how you got into playing music and how you found your sound, how you found your way to freak rock.
Well, the weird thing is I feel like I've been me forever. I've been myself my whole life. But what I mean is, like, I've been playing music since I was a little kid, and I've always been obsessed with music. And I was already recording music and stuff at like 13, 12 years old and busking all the time. And I feel like I've just kind of haven't changed. I've just kind of been myself all the way through. And the weird thing is that, like, what I've always done, people are starting to maybe like it now, and that's kind of like maybe fashion has changed, and like, I don't know, right? Like, I don't know. So that's cool.
That's awesome. Now, you are a professional musician, and I don't just mean that like you have a professional band, which you obviously do, but like you're a music teacher, you're a studio guitarist, you did the production and engineering on your own record, and that's how you are able to kind of have the time and money to put time and effort into your band, right?
Exactly. Well, like, and that's the beauty of it, is because I teach and because I work for other bands, like playing lead guitar in the studio and on stage, I don't have to worry about my band from a financial sense, right? Like, I'm not trying to make a song that people are going to like. I'm trying to make exactly what I want, whatever the fuck I want all the time, right?
Awesome.
And then because I can do it all myself, it keeps the overheads really low as well, right? So, and then I'm on Transistor 66 label, and they're so good about letting you do what you want, and you
Long
get
leash,
to,
right?
Yeah. And right now everyone's crying about not owning their masters or their publishing or whatever. It's like, did you pay for the record? Like, right? Like, if you pay for it yourself, or you do it yourself, or you just do everything yourself, then it's all yours. And I'm a paranoid freak.
I've heard you call yourself a control freak on more than a few occasions,
bit, right?
Yeah.
So because I do so much work for other people, right? That when it's my band, it's just like freedom, right?
Well, and I think that ties into the whole thing that we kind of were talking about before, that like your sound is kind of hard to pin down, and that's because like you come from all these different traditions. Like, you moved to the city and you were studying jazz guitar, right?
Yeah. And then, like, I think I just wanted to play jazz fusion or funk, really. But yeah, I've always studied music like my whole life, and I've gone through like every kind of phase of it, right? So, and then also I just write whatever I want, right? Like, so many bands have their idea of their aesthetic or what their sound is going to be before they write songs, and then they kind of put themselves in a box, right? And I guess that does work for them,
But you can only go so far.
Right, and it's not like a lifetime sustainable thing, right? Like I just want to make records forever, so I don't want to get bored. I'll do whatever.
That's awesome. Very cool. So let's talk about your aesthetic a little bit. How did you get turned on to the whole 70s vibe? You've called yourself an edgy grandma in a bio,
I didn't
which I
call
really
myself
liked.
that. That was the funniest thing because
No?
this was a festival in Calgary called
okay.
me that, and I think they like actually expected me to be older than I am when I got there, and I think they were just talking about my clothes or like the music being old school kind of style. But I've been wearing the bell bottoms for so long, and you used to have to search them out like thrift. But
I don't know. Can we get her shoes in the shot here? Those are badass shoes.
Thank
Very
you.
Cool.
But now, like, it's cool. Like, everybody, like, the young kids are wearing bell bottoms on TikTok and stuff, so they're really easy to find now.
Nice.
Yeah.
And about that 70s aesthetic, I feel like people gravitate to clothes of a particular time period because it gives them a feeling. What kind of feeling does the clothing for you give?
Well, my biggest fashion influence is Jimi Hendrix.
Nice.
You just want to feel like Jimi Hendrix, right? Like
Who wouldn't want to feel like
Yeah,
Jimi?
exactly. Like I watched this Mike Tyson thing a million years ago, and it was all about like him psyching himself up, and I was like, how do I feel like the greatest? It's like you dress like the greatest.
Nice. I love that. That's very cool. So you recently won Guitarist of the Year at the Manitoba Loud Music Awards. Congratulations. That's very
Well,
cool.
thank you. That was like, the punk and metal scene has my back. Like that's you guys too, right? Like you guys have my back, and that feels like cool because I don't always make punk or metal music, but I'm a fucking
Recognized.
punk.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the whole idea of punk rock, I think, anyways,
It's his
right? Is that you
mindset.
don't have to be one thing. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
be all kinds of different things. Can you tell us a little bit about the other people that you were nominated with and sort of what it was like to receive that recognition from your peers?
Oh, for sure. I know Ronnie Ladderberg was nominated, and
Stellar guitar player.
totally. Ronnie's always like, I like your stuff. I'm like, really? You're so good. Like, what? I think some people get it, like past the flash. You know what I mean? Like people get it. And then Dan Grapko was in there. A lot of people. He was working sound that night, so I think like. It was funny, right before the award, Shanine was announcing it, and she did a thing about like, she was like in the program that like it's all based on the votes and don't be a sore loser or whatever. They're like, is that because the girl's gonna win? Anyway, it was really an honor.
Congratulations. That's super cool. So your style of music or the writing behind it, you talk about it being deeply personal. It's sort of stream of consciousness. And the songs are influenced by your experiences with bipolar disorder, bad luck, bad choices. Now, the bad luck, bad choices, that's very rock and roll. You can find that on, I think, the back of like lots of records.
For sure, yeah.
But
For
can you
sure.
talk a little bit about your experiences with bipolar disorder and how maybe writing music or even just playing music has maybe helped you see different aspects of maybe mental health in some ways?
Oh, for sure. Like, okay, so I was diagnosed when I was 18 when I was studying jazz guitar, and it kind of threw a big wrench into that whole situation for sure when I first moved to Winnipeg. But like the beauty of it was realizing that you can only help yourself, right? And also, I think a lot of artists throughout history have had bipolar disorder.
But maybe not known it or like...
Or not known it or whatever, right? And it's like, well, first of all, it influences the songs. The bad choices, that comes from it a lot. But also like to stay up all night and work on music or the stream of consciousness thing is that I don't, I just write a song in one shot. So the first lyrics that come to my mind, the first whatever, right?
Kind of like bleh.
Yes, exactly. Or like me talking to people or me getting out there. It's definitely big manic energy. You can feel it right now. My hands are shaking.
Up here.
Yeah. But like to just let people, like if I had, if life hadn't gone on when I thought it wasn't going to go on when I was 18 years old, I wouldn't have been able to do all of the cool things that I get to do all the time now, right? So like anyone out there, just hang on, right? Because like life gets so much better if
Yeah. Well, and like, so in bipolar disorder, my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like high highs and low lows.
Very much so, yeah.
So the high highs, obviously, you were talking about that. You can feel it kind of now, the excitement.
Oh,
and,
for
and
sure,
like,
yeah.
performing would be that. Do you find like after a performance to sort of like address the low lows, you just kind of have to like shelter a little bit and like regroup, recharge?
Yes, yeah, like definitely recharge, yeah. Yeah, I might seem like an extrovert, but like it's, yeah. It's a recharge. But also, yeah, I don't think I would be as candid as I am or things like that. And I've learned to like live with it and appreciate it and use it as a superpower in a weird way.
Well, thank you for being open about that kind of stuff, because I think the more that we talk about it, the more we can normalize it, and hopefully it'll be easier for other people to talk about it, especially when they're going through a hard time. So thank you. What did you do during the shutdowns? I know you did a stream on International Women's Day. Did you spend a lot of time writing, or was it streaming? How did you spend that time?
Well, I should have been working in my studio. I should have been. But, like, you just don't. I feel like a lot of people felt this way, that you didn't have the push, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
motivation was really.
Yeah.
Well,
But like, so we did that stream, and I did work on a few things, but I got really into like gardening, and I got a cat, and just like you have to. I think a lot of people had to figure out what do you do outside of music.
Yeah.
And especially because I am a professional musician and it's my hobby, it's like you got to find some
What are you
a few
beside
hobbies.
that?
Yeah, exactly. Like I didn't have. If someone had asked me before the pandemic, I wouldn't have been able to say what else I do.
It was a big time for introspection, I think, for a lot of people. That's cool. And so when did you get back playing again, and what was that like? Like, I know you've played a handful of shows last while at the Goodwill, at the Park, even at Uptown Alleys. What were those first couple shows back like?
Oh, it's so good. People are in. Like, I feel like before the pandemic, it was a bit of a lull, right? Like, it was starting to get hard to get people out to shows. But everything I've played since then has been packed, and people are loving it.
Live music again.
And there's all these young people and young new bands that have come out. And I feel like when I was a young new band coming out, everybody was old, like I was the only one, or very few of us, very, very few of us. So I think the scene is like so much better because of all these young people who are so excited. I don't know if rock and roll is back to teens and 20-year-olds, which is, that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And I've heard you talk about in other interviews, like, because you are a music teacher and a lot of your students are kids, like, soon those kids are going to be in their bands and starting their bands.
A few of them have bands now.
I was just going to ask, some of them
yes.
have? That's awesome.
Yes. Show Pony has one of my students, and Poodle Paddle, and there's a few of them floating around there. It's
That's
so cool. Yeah.
Nice. Congratulations. That's cool. Can you tell us a little bit more about the bowling alley show you just played? I'm excited about the idea of Uptown Alleys as a new venue, because, I mean, so many venues closed during COVID, and now there's this space. And especially with your style and your style of music, I feel like that's such a great fit. So
It was my
like.
first sold out show ever.
Nice.
That wasn't like covers, like, you know, like those bands as bands, those things sell out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my music, and it's clean in there. Like, my mom was there commenting how beautiful the bathrooms are. But it was so fun. And someone told me afterwards that, like, for quite a while, this could have been a coincidence, but it looked really good. My mom was like, people stopped bowling, Paige. People stopped bowling. But the only thing is, like, when you're counting, I count in a lot of songs with my boot on the floor, and, like, that can't compete with the lanes.
Pins, yeah.
But the people watching the show said it was some of the best sound they've ever heard. Like, it's a really fun venue. Like, I went to see the Catamounts there, surf band, surfing, music, and bowling, and
That's
beer.
so 60s. Like,
yeah.
Picture in old movies. That sounds cool.
If I was on tour and I played there, even if nobody came, that would be the one I talk about forever.
Nice. So, burning question that everybody wants to know, the poop song.
Oh, yeah.
Is it true?
Actually, at the bowling alley, a woman came up to me and said that, I've never met her before, and she said that she listens to that every day with her 9-year-old son, and she called the poop song too, and that's not even released. So I'm so psyched that everybody knows about this song. It's called The Clog, and I actually wrote it when I was playing in Marshall Birch's band, Marshall and I want to say the Buddy System. That was our first name, Marshall and some buddies. And it's about clogging a toilet at a house party. And yes, it is a true story.
Awesome. Will you maybe play that for us next week?
Sure, yeah.
Awesome. That would be very fun. So you also alluded that you have a bit of an announcement you'd like to share.
Oh, yes. Putting out some new music next month. It's just a single or an A-side, B-side single with maybe a remix that the boys have done. So the half of it's my studio, and then half of it we did with Grant Triple at Exchange Studios, and he like produced me, and I usually produce myself, but there was like this audience of students there watching for the recording school, so I behaved so good,
like,
and he got such a good performance out of me. I'm not gonna lie.
Nice.
I should produce myself a little harder.
Well, we're excited to hear that, and we hope you can join us. We are going to be streaming live with Paige Drobot next Saturday. It's December 18th at 4 p.m. You can find it on Facebook. We'd love if you would give the Red Tie Live page a like or a follow. That way you can get the notifications when we do go live, because we hope to be bringing you lots more local live music. And if you are inclined, we do have a GoFundMe Find Me Running. We'd really appreciate if you just took a second to watch the video, maybe find out a little bit more about what we do, and if you're able, maybe consider giving us a donation so that we can keep bringing you great artists like Paige. We look forward to seeing you next Saturday.